Yo YouTube, what's up? I'm Tim. This is the Cash Killing AC Sports Report. Before I get into the stuff I'm going to get into in this video, first of all, tonight, Blitz Hardcore Podcast, Blog Talk Radio / Blitz Hardcore Podcast. I go on there every Tuesday with Bruce Blitz, and we might have an interview with Sam LeCure, pitcher of the Cincinnati Reds on there. Check that out. We will be breaking down all the big topics in baseball, from MLB trade deadline to the standings, everything along those lines. Also, tomorrow for this show, we will have Leonard Weaver, Pro Bowl fullback of the Eagles, on. He's coming off a huge injury that ended his season in Week 1, and he is trying to work his way back. So it should be interesting, really, to see if he's able to get back and be successful. But being able to talk to him should be a nice thing. There's a few reports going around. I want to address DeSean Jackson potentially holding out, but I think the one everyone wants me to get to, and I posted this on Twitter and Facebook, what do you guys want me to talk about? And the free agent frenzy was the most popular response. So basically, I'm going to break down the guy who was the obvious huge free agent this offseason, and that's cornerback Nnamdi Asomugha. Now, Nnamdi has been successful with the Raiders for 8 seasons, and it's basically a done deal that he's going to leave. In my opinion, he's one of the top 10 players in the NFL, and he would really probably be just as popular as Darelle Revis, except he played on a bad team. I don't think he's as good as Darelle Revis, but I think he's the closest thing to him in the NFL. Nnamdi's 30, I think he's 30 years old. He's either 29 or 30. He's probably going to get a 4 or 5 season deal. And I think that's the one drawback from him, is that he is 30, and you're talking about a deal that's going to take you up to 35. But I think with a lot of these great cornerbacks, they are able to be successful into their mid-30s, and if they're not, you can move them to safety or a position similar to that. I mean, look at what the Packers have done with Charles Woodson. There's a perfect example. I think Nnamdi Asomugha, the big report right now is that the Jets have interest. And I'm telling you, if the Jets sign him and you pair him up on the right side and have Darelle Revis on the left side, I have no choice. I would have to pick the Jets to be in the Super Bowl, at least be in the Super Bowl. Because it doesn't matter if Mark Sanchez makes that development or not. We've seen in playoffs, without Nnamdi Asomugha, against quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, they have been good enough to beat those teams with just what they have, and Mark Sanchez, who still hasn't developed. So even if Mark Sanchez develops, or even if he doesn't develop, you're still talking about the ability to beat those teams, and I think that is the thing that puts you over the hump and gets you to the Super Bowl. As far as beating a team like Green Bay, that would be tough because Green Bay has a ton of weapons, and I think you could say the same thing for Atlanta if they got there, and any other team that would get there. You're talking about two teams that have just wide receiver after wide receiver after wide receiver. And I mean, you saw that last year with the Packers in the Super Bowl. Jordy Nelson would be a starting wide receiver on most teams. He's like their number 3. So I think that Nnamdi Asomugha would put them in a position to at least be in the Super Bowl. And I think he probably puts them in a position to win the Super Bowl. It depends what type of season you would get out of your running game. Sean Green had somewhat of a down year last year because he lost some carries when LT started playing well. But I think he should have a rebound year. And LT, you don't know what you're going to get. Hopefully for Jets fans, which I am not, hopefully you would get a season close to 1,000 yards again. I think that if you can get Sean Green at 800 yards and LT at 1,000 or so, you're in line to have a very good season. I think Mark Sanchez has all the tools to be a successful quarterback. I know that I hate on him sometimes. I'm really not a fan of the guy. But I think he has the tools to be successful. And I think his issue is he came out of college too early. But being on a team where you're not even the main guy, but that you have to step up just enough to win, I think he would be able to do that. So I think Nnamdi Asomugha going to that Jets team would make them the clear Super Bowl favorite. And you know, with the biased New York national media, that you would never hear, oh, the Jets are going to the Super Bowl. So I think that if that happens, the Jets are the Super Bowl favorite, and I will even say that, and I'm not the biased New York national media. In the end, though, I think that Nnamdi Asomugha is going to end up with one of the Texas teams.
We've heard that he wants to come east. I mean, technically Dallas isn't east, but they're in the NFC East. And, you know, the East teams, there's not a ton of options. I heard, like, the Titans are interested. I might have that one wrong. But, I know the Texans are interested. The Cowboys are interested. I think people are trying to stir up interest from the Eagles that they really apparently don't have. And I think that makes sense because they have too many needs to spend all that money on one player. And I think the 49ers are going to be a player in this, but that just doesn't seem too likely to me because Nnamdi has been in a situation where he's been probably the best cornerback over the last 5 years total, and he has not had a chance to really be successful. And I don't look at the 49ers as too much of they're an upgrade, but not too much of an upgrade over what you got in Oakland. So I think as far as the Eagles go now, and I know I've been getting to a lot of Eagles. We'll spread it out. We're working on our NFL preview. The thing is, we're kind of screwed because you can't make an NFL preview until you know what draft picks are in, who's getting traded, who's getting released, and who's signing with their team. So, you know, the NFL preview last year was in the middle of July, or hell, it might have been at the end of June. It's not going to be that early, obviously, because that's already passed, but I don't even think it's going to be in the next 2-3 weeks, because really, you don't know who's on what team at this point. But one guy who you kind of get scared as an Eagles fan, which I am, is DeSean Jackson. He's due to make about $650,000, which is obviously not what he's worth. And today, he did not show up for... All the players are just kind of reporting. Tomorrow is training camp down at Lehigh, which is about, I don't know, 25 minutes from where I live. So I will be heading down there. Hopefully the whole crew, KJ, AC, Cookie, will be heading down there at some point. Hopefully KJ loses the Steelers jersey. I think that Michael Vick had some interesting things to say, though, because DeSean Jackson did not report what most of the players said. He said basically that... you know, he's talked to DeSean, and DeSean has some important decisions to make, and, you know, hopefully he's there tomorrow. And I think when he said the important decisions to make, everyone thought, well, DeSean's not interested, or DeSean's brought up numerous times that he's not happy with his contract, and, oh boy, hopefully this isn't another TO syndrome, which I haven't predicted that happening, but I've always kind of felt like that's something that's waiting to happen, because in the end, I think you're talking about a guy who I love watching. He's probably my favorite player in the Eagles, although Jeremy Maclin and Michael Vick give that a run, and maybe Trent Cole and Asante Samuel. But I don't get the impression that he's about the team more than himself. I think he plays for the name on the back rather than the name on the front. And if you're successful for the team, and I don't mean that in the sense that he doesn't care if they win, because he clearly does, but I think he's in this 65% for himself, and the other, I'm not in the school mode right now, the other 35% for the team. And I think it's shown because he's been highly outspoken about wanting to be paid, which is fine, but I think when you have not shown up in these huge playoff games, he has not been clutch, and I will be the first one to tell you that. DeSean Jackson has choked in the clutch. He's had 2 plays in his career that I consider clutch. I remember the NFC title game in 2007, the pass that he caught over Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, who may soon be his teammate, for the touchdown. And then he had the miracle at the Meadowlands, which is more skill and luck, and that was week 14 or 15. But from week 15 on, I mean, you talk about him disappearing in the Cowboys games, you talk about him disappearing last year in the Green Bay Packers game. I don't think this guy's clutch, and I think with his size, you got to be scared and you got to be worried. And I start to think that Jeremy Maclin may be the long-term future of this team at wide receiver. And I'm not sold on what DeSean Jackson needs to show up in the big game to get paid for me. And if not, I don't know. It depends how much money he wants. I think what the Eagles should do is get a quick fix this year. Say, here, $7 million for this year. Take it and get to practice. But I don't know about DeSean Jackson. I really don't.
I mean, I remember him a week after the Eagles were eliminated in the playoffs last year on Lopez Tonight, and that just, it pissed me off. Because you just lost an important playoff game, and the thing you're worried about is getting on the forefront of TV. I mean, it just disgusted me, really. And I like DeSean Jackson, and I think people say he's an asshole. I don't get that impression because I see him do a lot of charity work and everything. But I get the impression that he's not 100% sold out to be the team. And I get scared that once he gets paid, he won't work as hard or something like that. And I hope I'm wrong, but that's the impression I get out of DeSean Jackson. And paying him on a long-term basis, I don't know. I do not know. But I am Tim. Remember, check out our show tonight, Blog Talk Radio, Blitz Hardcore Podcast. Bruce Blitz is the host. Me, Brian, Bruce Blitz. I think Joseph is not back yet, but normally he's on. AC might be checking in tonight, just depends what he has to do. Sam LaCure of the Reds interview, remember, check that out. He's a pitcher on the Reds. And then tomorrow we will post our Leonard Weaver interview. That's not going to be a live interview, it's just too much work. But we will interview him, and it'll all be good. I'm Tim. Find us on Twitter at Cash Kelly and AC, Facebook page Cash Kelly and AC Sports Report. I will see you later.